Hey folks, welcome. I'm Sam Faddis, and this is Ground Truth, where we try to get past the hype and the spin and the nonsense that passes for news these days and talk about reality for a little while. Today we're talking about the intelligence community and Iran and a difference of opinion. All the heads of the principal U.S. intelligence agencies went up to Capitol Hill recently, and they delivered their annual threat assessment to Congress, where they sort of look across the globe and detail what they see as principal threats facing the United States, how dire they are, etc. It is, as you would expect, a pretty broad-based document covering the entire planet, but today we're focusing on the portion concerning Iran. The heads of the agency said, in effect, that Iran is complying with its obligations under the Iranian nuclear deal, the so-called Joint Comprehensive Agreement, and in general said that Iran is not an immediate threat to the United States. While they didn't give Iran a pass, they significantly downplayed the threat from Iran, prompting the President of the United States almost immediately to take to Twitter and voice his very strong disagreement and suggest that the intelligence community was completely off base. Pretty dramatic, especially because he's right. Let's look at some aspects of Iran, the nuclear deal, and Iranian efforts in the Middle East. First of all, let's understand the nature of Iran. Iran is a revolutionary Islamic republic. It dates back to 1979 when the Shah, the king of Iran, was overthrown. It has an expressly apocalyptic, jihadist, revolutionary purpose. It is dominated by a radical clergy. Iran is a theocracy. Senior religious leaders and their minions control the nation. And everything about their foreign policy, their national security policy, all of their actions driven by a belief that it is their destiny, their obligation, their mission to control the entire Middle East, to transform it in this expressly revolutionary Islamic way. They believe that any day now, the 12th Imam, otherwise known as the Mahdi, who is a senior leader who they believe has been somehow in hiding for centuries and yet remains alive. They believe he will return any day. In fact, the most common belief is that he's going to ride out of a well in Iran on a horse, after which he's going to lead their armies to victory all across the globe. This is the stuff of Armageddon, of apocalypse. These are the terms in which they think. They are not about coexistence. They are not about simply going their own way. Their entire reason for existing is to transform the globe in their image. Let's talk about the nuclear deal. Here's what we know about the Iranians and nuclear weapons. We know for sure, as fact, the Iranians have been seeking nuclear weapons for many, many, many years. We also know that they have lied to us each and every time we have asked them virtually anything about that deal, over and over and over again, over decades, and that they have then put great effort into hiding those lies and continuing their efforts. So to believe that they have signed a deal and actually intend to walk away from nuclear weapons would suggest that you believe that they have fundamentally changed everything about their tactics, their strategy, their end game, their goals, and their behavior. There is, of course, absolutely no indication that that is true. We also know, by the way, that while we eventually caught them in these lies, in many, many, many cases, we did not catch them at the time because our intelligence was so flawed and so imperfect that we did not know they were lying. Even when we suspected they were lying, we could not prove it. So an assessment that says now they are complying with the deal not only assumes they have changed their spots entirely, but it also suggests that we are now representing that we have complete clarity in our intelligence assessments, that we somehow now have fixed all the defects in our collection apparatus and we know exactly what is and is not going on in Iran. There is absolutely no indication that that is true. A couple of other points in regard to the nuclear deal. First of all, the Iranians have been pursuing for many, many years a ballistic missile program, a program which will allow them to fire warheads from inside Iran and hit targets thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. Absolutely everything we know about that program, and we know quite a bit, tells us it's very expensive, it sucks up a lot of resources, and if you look at the size of the missile, the size of the payload, every other technical specification, there's only one kind of warhead on the planet that system could possibly be designed to carry. Only one thing you could put on those missiles that would make it worth the time, effort, everything else, and that's a nuclear warhead. We also know that the very first thing the Iranians said to us when they sat down to negotiate this supposed nuclear deal was that they would not begin to discuss giving up the ballistic missile program. That no matter what else happened, they were going to retain that program and continue work. In other words, the very first thing they said to us at the negotiating table was, here's this incredibly expensive system, which only exists for one purpose, to carry a nuclear weapon. And we won't even think about shutting it down. Suggesting pretty strongly that at some point they expect to have nuclear weapons to put on those missiles. Should add as an aside that the Iranians and the North Koreans have a very, very close cooperative effort. North Koreans already have nuclear weapons, and therefore it's entirely possible that what the Iranians intend is to simply buy nuclear weapons from the North Koreans, fly them into Iran, mate them with those ballistic missiles, and go overnight from having no program to having a very, very capable, very, very dangerous program. And as it stands right now, there's absolutely nothing we can do to stop that from happening. Last point, let's talk outside the nuclear realm. Since this nuclear deal, since the Iranians were given $150 billion plus to go on a shopping spree, they have set the Middle East on fire. From Lebanon to Syria to Iraq to Yemen. Yemen is being torn to pieces by a rebellion directed by, fueled by, armed by the Iranians. Lebanon is effectively another name for Hezbollah land now, and Hezbollah is owned and controlled by Iran. Iraq teetering on the edge of being a client state of Iran. Syria, what's left of it, exists only because of Iranian and Hezbollah support. And when you look at the efforts that are ongoing, the 150,000 rockets and missiles in Lebanon, the fact that Hezbollah has an army bigger than many European nations, the type of weaponry in question, the sophistication, the tunnels being dug from Lebanon into Israel, you can see that amongst other things, this effort is designed to expressly destroy the state of Israel, to literally wipe it from the face of the earth. Which, by the way, you don't have to infer, because the Iranians announced that about every other day expressly, that they intend to wipe Israel from the face of the earth. This is the Iran that our intelligence chiefs are telling us is not a threat. Then again, this is the same intelligence community that was part and parcel of the Iran nuclear deal and the capitulation to Iran in the first place. This is unfortunately another example of the deep state in action. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Ground Truth.